friends, tonight we are in Sicily to make pasta alla Norma, the eggplant pasta ricotta dish named after the opera of the same name, Bellini's famous opera named Norma, because this dish is so fantastic, just like the opera. So the first thing we're going to do is I've taken a large eggplant and just put it into chunks. Okay, so I'm going to put it in a strainer, a colander, with a dish underneath. Okay, so because what we want to do is we want to salt it pretty well, and what's going to happen is the salt is going to make the eggplant lose a lot of its moisture, and that way when it cooks up it'll just be a little less bitter. Some of the bitterness goes away, and it gets a much more meaty kind of texture. Okay, so I've given it a good amount of salt, and I'm just going to let it sit in the colander with a dish or bowl underneath to catch the liquid, and so that'll take about an hour. So we'll set this aside for about an hour. And then the next thing we want to do is make the tomato sauce. So I like to use whole tomatoes. This one is an Italian brand. It's a nice one. You can use an already pureed tomato sauce, but I'm going to put this in my bowl. And because it's fun to use your hands, so we've got our whole tomatoes, I just like to smush them up with my hands. It just feels good, and it's tactile. So, and that way there's a little bit chunky, which is a nice thing to go with the eggplant. Okay, so we've got the start on our sauce. Okay, so we've got our tomatoes nice and smushed up, so let's take them over to the stove and make our tomato sauce. Okay, time for tomato sauce. So I've got some heat going on my pan, little nice olive oil on the bottom. Okay, so I've got 3 cloves of garlic that I've just sliced. You can go less or more, it's up to your own taste. And half an onion. This is a yellow onion. It was actually kind of a really big onion, so there's a lot of it here, but I want to use it up, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it in. So it's just a half an onion diced. Okay. And so many people have their own methods for making tomato sauce. It's just one of those things where a lot of people say, this is the way my family made it, this is the way it's been done in our town, in our village, this is the way it's always been done, and this is the right way. So it's really, there's so many different methods for making tomato sauce. Okay, so we've got a little bit of browning going on with our onion. I'm going to go ahead and just add a little splash of red wine, totally optional, but when we're making a red tomato sauce, something about that red wine just adds a little depth of flavor. So why not? That's what I say. Why not? Okay, so it's loosened up some of this nice browning on the pan. The smell, amazing. So alright, I'll add a little salt. Okay. So I'm leaving the garlic in, and it's just marrying really nicely. All right, so that's starting to evaporate. The wine is starting to evaporate a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add in remember the tomatoes that we smushed up? We're going to just add those right in. And then this one we will let cook for about an hour while we're waiting for the eggplant. Let it simmer on a low temperature, partially covered. If it gets real thick, you can add a little bit of water. It's fine. And I really like these tomatoes that are not completely pureed. They're kind of chunky. And can you see? So it's looking really chunky and delicious. All right, so I'm going to partially cover this. Get it simmering, turn it down a little bit, and I will see you in an hour. And we're back looking at the eggplant. It's been about 30 minutes, and the eggplant is already letting go of a lot of liquid. So I'm going to go ahead and get it roasting. So there's different options with the eggplant. You can fry it in some olive oil in the frying pan now that a lot of the moisture has gone out. Or what I like to do is just use a little dab of olive oil and roast it in the oven, because it absorbs less oil that way. It just is a little less oily, so that's just the method that I prefer. So, and even another thing you can do is kind of give it a little squeeze and even let out even more of the liquid. That just is how eggplant likes to be, a little less. Okay, so I've gotten a lot of liquid out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I've drizzled a little olive oil here. And you say, well, we put a lot of salt on it, but when the water kind of washes out of the eggplant, a lot of the salt washes away too. So we don't have to wash it of salt or anything. So I'm just got a little olive oil on my roasting pan here, and I'm just going to throw this in the oven for about 15 minutes just to soften it up a little bit before we can put it in our tomato sauce. And then we'll be ready to cook the pasta and eat. Okay. See you in a few minutes. Hi friends. Uh-oh, you caught me sipping. Alright. Gotta have wine when you cook. This is part of the deal. Okay, so I've taken the eggplant out of the oven, so let's give it a little taste. It's a little bit to the tooth. There's a little meatiness to it, but it's really nicely, really nicely done. It's not too hard, just a little bit crunchy. Okay, so what I'm going to do, my sauce has been cooking for about an hour, and it's thickened up pretty nicely. Let's see. I didn't have to add any water. It's nice to have a little bit of a thicker sauce when you're doing pasta alla Norma. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the eggplant in my tomato sauce. Something about eggplant, it's just so versatile and just adds so much to so many Italian dishes. When I first heard about pasta alla Norma, I thought it reminded me of eggplant parmesan sort of inside out, because it's got eggplant, tomato sauce, ricotta, and pasta, but sort of in a whole different form. All right, so I'm just going to let that stay warm for a minute while I heat up my pasta water, and then we're almost ready. So the pasta is just about ready. So I'm going to capture a little bit of the pasta sauce, always, or pasta cooking water. You always want to save a little bit of this in case you want to thin out your sauce, or it can also be a little bit of a thickener, because sauce is looking so good. Look at that, with the eggplant, the onion, the garlic. It's just like a ragu. It's very thick and really hearty. All right, so let's go ahead and drain our pasta. We're not going to rinse it. Sauce here. Check it out. Okay, let's give it a stir and see. So I think I'm going to do is just add a little bit of that pasta water in here, just to kind of help thin out the sauce a little, help it adhere to the pasta. There you have it, and you can use any pasta that you want to. Usually it's something like this that will hold on to the sauce. Let's take a look. Looks really delicious. Okay, we are ready to serve into a nice serving bowl. I made a lot, so this is something you can definitely have leftovers. Something about tomato-based pasta dishes They almost taste better the second night. Have you noticed that? Or second or third night. They just seem to get better with age, right? Okay, so there we have our pasta alla Norma. I made mine with shells. I used about a half a pound of pasta. Okay, so then for serving, what you want to do is just add a little bit to your plate here, and this can definitely be a main course. You could have it with, in Sicily is a very, citrus is a very important product in Sicily, especially like blood oranges. So you can follow this with a nice citrus-based salad. You could use a little fennel, some orange slices, or even a little lettuce. So it's like a citrus-based salad is really good to follow this because the citrus acts as a digestive and it kind of cleanses the palate. So if you want to really be Sicilian style, you can have your pasta alla Norma with a citrus-based salad for dessert. Okay, and another important ingredient in our pasta alla Norma is a little dollop of ricotta cheese, fresh ricotta cheese. Pretty delicious, right? Should we try a bite? Let's try with a little ricotta, a little bit of the eggplant, the tomato, the pasta. See if we can get all that in one bite here. Wow. So many different flavors. Buon appetito. Ciao.